Hey, what's up everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems and welcome back to MX Simulator, where today we are going to be previewing the 2023 Detroit Supercross by playing the 2023 Detroit Supercross track in MX Sim, which was raced of course on Wednesday night for round 10 of Moto Option AMA Esports Supercross and will be raced this weekend for round 10 of Monster Energy AMA Supercross. So yeah, we're going to kind of break down the track, dissect a couple of the line options, a couple things that are interesting about this track as well, and then get you guys revved up for the weekend for this 10th round of Supercross, where boy oh boy, there's a lot of stuff to talk about, but we'll try to run through it as quickly as we can. So starting off talking about this track just a little bit, getting I guess a brief synopsis of it. It is of course a football stadium, so we have these longer rhythm lanes, a lot of bowl corners. But the more unique part of this track is what's coming up after the whoops. So we have a long set of whoops this week for one, which is, I don't even know how many whoops. Is going to be like probably 15 whoops total that they'll end up having. But this section after the whoops is the most unique part, where they go across the start straight, bowl corner, and back across the start straight, another bowl corner, and then back across the start straight again into a right-hand 90. And this is now actually a small double going up into the face of this big jump over the start straight. So small changes right there, but kind of the rest of the track is pretty similar to what we're going to see right here. I think actually the only other change that I've noticed is the Dragon's Back going back onto the start straight now only has 3 rollers instead of 4 up it, and it does actually have a lander, which in this game it does not. It just jumps straight out onto the start straight. So a couple small changes right there to talk about, but the rest of the track is pretty straightforward as you see it right here. So yeah, why I think that those switchbacks across the start straight and the bowl corners that subsequently follow around them is going to be interesting is, at least in the sim race, and I've heard a couple people, including Phil Nicoletti in the Racer X track preview, talk about this. It just creates more opportunities for passing because those bowl corners open up areas where guys can get a run on someone else and then slide down the inside and make a block pass. And especially because they're all after the whoops, all 2 of these bowl corners and then back and forth across the start straight are after the whoops. Someone might be setting somebody up in the whoops already, and if they don't get that pass right at the end of the whoops into that 90, they just can funnel right into the rider behind them and then set them up in the very next set of corners in those bowl corners. So I think really, even though that section seems kind of boring, it might actually be the best opportunities for passes this weekend. So I like that, even though it feels like a dumb section because it's just so back and forth, that it's still actually going to probably help the racing a little bit. The only thing that sucks about it is it kind of dumbs down this middle lane right here. Like, instead of going all the way backwards down the start straight, or maybe adding an extra lane right in here or something like that, it cuts off short, and then you just have the finish line jump out of a sharp 180 bowl turn and then a little roller into this corner right here. So it's kind of like a lame section right there, but it's just a finish line jump section, so I don't even think it's that bad. And then it creates more opportunities to have some passing because we have those bowl corners back to back to back. So I like it. I don't know if everyone's going to love it. I think some people might look at this track and be like, oh man, they wasted so much space by doing those bowl corners. But I still think that there's the opportunity that they actually do create some good racing. As for the rest of the track, there's going to be, it really just kind of comes down to the way that each jump set is built. And from press day, like I said, it looks like this one is already a double into this big double that's basically the size of a Supercross triple, even more so over the start straight. But then these 2 rhythm sections come down to how they build them. Like, will they be able to step on, step off triple single? Will they be able to go over table and then triple double? And then in this section, it's 11 jumps, and a lot of guys were either doubling in and then tripling in the sim race, or tripling in and then triple double. But it just kind of depends on how they build it. I think more than likely the option of doubling in will become the preferred line, unless the double out at the end of the rhythm section is built differently than it is in sim, because in sim it pops you up really high, which is why nobody was electing to double out and they would double in instead. But if for whatever reason they can figure out a way to do that double out a little bit shorter or faster or something like that, then everybody will be tripling in. I don't necessarily foresee a quad being corked out in that rhythm section this year. And the only reason I say that is because last year Detroit had honestly a pretty similar rhythm section to that, where it was a lot of singles in a row. I think it was 10 though that went into a raised corner, and everybody was doubling in, and then they would go 3-3 and then kind of 2 up into the corner. Whereas this one, I feel like it's the same thing. It's out of a 180 bowl corner. There's maybe a triple in option, most likely a double in option, and then into this 3-3-3 lane right here. And the reason why I don't think there's going to be a quad is because we just saw that same section last year and nobody could get enough speed built up through it to bust out a quad. Now, maybe the jumps are built slightly differently this year, just enough to get a quad corked off somewhere in there. But even so, where does this set you up? Like, unless you quad triple to end the rhythm section or something big like that, you still might have to single out, you might have to double out. And it's not always the best option to do those because then you have to slow down quite a bit just to get out of the rhythm section when you could have just been carrying speed all the way through with some double or triple options. So I don't know. We'll have to see how it shapes up. I think more often than not, though, you'll see a double inline kind of prevail, especially when the track rotates out a little bit more and guys like Cooper Webb and others that cut down in the corners low start finding the option that being low in the berm and doubling in is actually faster. So I think that we'll see that option most likely come into play. But that's kind of the synopsis of the track. Let's talk about this championship because this is pretty crazy. Obviously, Ken Roczen just coming off of his first win of the year last weekend. Big night in Indy with Suzuki getting that win. But the kind of forgotten part of that whole night, because it was so momentous for Suzuki, was that Cooper Webb took over the championship lead, and Eli Tomac had a pretty weirdo main event where he ended up finishing in the 8th position. And he actually, there was a little bit of a rumor flying around this week that, so he himself, I should say, after the race said, I just struggled with setup all day, had a little bit of, discomfort and couldn't quite figure it out to go the pace in the main event. And we've seen that happen before. It's not completely out of the ordinary for Tomac to have just an off night. Even Tampa, he got a 5th, and it was just kind of like a casual 5th. It wasn't like he looked terrible or anything like that, and I don't think he looked terrible at Detroit, but he just didn't have the speed of the leaders. Well, apparently on press day, he did confirm that there was, there was a rumor floating around that he actually tweaked his neck a little bit. I don't remember how, maybe in his sleep, and that it was bothering him. And I guess on press day, he did confirm that. So Eli Tomac had an issue where his neck was feeling a little bit weird and just couldn't quite push it beyond, I guess, that comfort level in the main event at Detroit. And because of that, ends up with 8th place and loses the championship lead. So is it better this weekend? I don't know. I think probably yes, because if it's just a tweak in the neck, it's not something that's going to persist. But maybe it does carry into this weekend. Maybe he does have another weirdo night. Regardless of which, I hope that he's back to like full strength, because this championship is completely bonkers. Somehow Chase Sexton is still relatively close, only 13 back. Cooper Webb leads the championship now by a single point, and it's gotten to the point where we're in the back half of the season. The championship leaders change hands, which doesn't happen very often. And now we got to see if Eli can steal it back. I think a lot of people will assume that it's just a foregone conclusion that Eli's got this back. But we're coming into some tracks that Cooper Webb is usually very, very good at. Detroit is definitely a track that he has excelled at in the past. Seattle is also a track that he's done well at. So we've got a string here where Webb can find, a couple wins, sneak him in here, and maybe put this thing a little bit farther away so that Tomac really has to up the intensity down the stretch. And that could make this championship a whole heck of a lot of fun to watch if those two are this close for the final 8 races, because it's 2 different riding styles, but it's 2 guys that are so hungry to win this championship, and I think they would stop at nothing to get it done. So love that for the series. It's going to be fun to watch. Hopefully we get a good race this weekend in Detroit to make it that much more eventful. I think this weekend for me, I think if Tomac's still not feeling it, I don't know that I would pick Webb this weekend. I'm going to go off the wall. Kenny won last week. He got tailed by Justin Barcia the entire main event, and Barcia's looked really good the last couple of weeks. I'm going to say we get our 5th different winner. I'm going to pick Justin Barcia to win this weekend in Detroit. And I don't know. I just have a feeling that things are going his way, and he looked so good in Indy and was just, probably figuring out the whoops a little bit sooner away from passing Kenny late in that race. Regardless of which, I'm going to go with Justin. And I don't think that that's necessarily a terrible pick. He's looked really good. 250 class-wise, I'm just going to pick Hunter Lawrence because he's been the class of the field, really. Nate Thrasher has been close, but he's now dealing with 2 cracked ribs and a torn ACL and still just somehow finishing second every week like a boss. But, Jordan Smith, Max Anstey, like, they're not that far off Hunter Lawrence, but it seems like Lawrence has got starts, consistency, racecraft, race management, all of those things clicking right now, so I think it's tough to bet against him. And I actually asked him after the race last week in Indy if he's going to go into championship mode at any point this year, and he said, no, I want to win them all. Like straight up just was like, I want to win every race this year. So I don't think that we see Hunter Lawrence backing down at any point in time. I think he wants to go out and show what he's made of. And a little bit of a weird stat coming into this weekend is that if Hunter Lawrence can win the Detroit Supercross this weekend, he'll have tied his brother Jet for the same amount of Supercross wins, which is unbelievable. I think it's 9 now. 9 Supercross wins for them both. And he'll have done it in the exact same amount of starts. I forget the start number. Again, it's something, I think it's in the mid-20s, 25 or something like that. So they'll both have the exact same amount of wins and the exact same amount of starts, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because Hunter Lawrence has obviously kind of been around the U.S. scene a little bit longer. He had a whole, more or less, year under his belt before his brother Jet turned pro. And then Jet also got hurt in his rookie season of Supercross. So it's crazy to think that they're now at the point where they're going to have basically the same amount of races and same amount of race wins potentially. And the fact that for a lot of people, I think you would put Jet Lawrence above Hunter Lawrence in terms of a raw power ranking scale, and yet here they are about to be the equals of each other, and both leading the championship still, and yada yada yada. Now of course Jet has the opportunity to just repass him the next week in Seattle and get whatever win number 10 or 11 or whatever it is, but he would have one more start as well, so Hunter Lawrence could get it right back. And then we have the East-West Showdown coming up a little bit later this year that also will be fun to watch and see which of the brothers will be better than each other. I hope they stay healthy until then and nobody has a bad crash and gets hurt and takes that possibility away from us. But yeah, I got Hunter Lawrence, and I'm going to go off the wall and pick Justin Barcia for the 450 class this weekend. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who have you got to win in Detroit, and what do you think about this track, as chaotic as it is with these switchbacks and a couple different line options? Hopefully it presents some good racing, and hopefully we get a good race to watch this weekend. But this is the track preview for the 2023 Detroit Supercross in MX Simulator. Download the track in the link below in the description, and let me know if you have any comments, questions, or concerns beyond that. But thanks for watching another video here on Start Your Systems, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.